Hello everyone, welcome back to my IELTS stream. We are an online IELTS training institute and we help people prepare for their IELTS exam, be it general or academic, and we have a lot of successful students coming out. And in today's video we are going to talk about the academic task 1, which is a summary or a report writing task involved in the writing module of academic exam. You are required to write at least 150 words, and you will be given some sort of data, and you will be required to choose details from that data and make a summary of at least 150 words. So how are you supposed to go about the process of preparing for academic task 1? We will go stepwise and we will discuss the importance of each step as we go, and you will have a clear plan at the end of the video, and I hope that it helps you. How to prepare for academic task 1? Know what the examiners want. So the first thing whenever preparing for any exam is that you should know what the examiners want. What do they require in order to give you a good band? What is it that they are looking for? Now, if you don't really know what examiners want, so you are actually going into the exam not knowing what you're supposed to do, and also you are going in there very blank. It's like you're shooting an arrow in the dark and you don't really know what to do. So knowing what the examiners want will give you a pathway which you will be able to follow, and you will be able to land at the specific band that you want. Learn to understand all different types of data. Now, academic task 1 has at least 7 different types of data, and it takes a little bit of work because they are different from each other. The way to understand them, the way to actually prioritize information from them, and how to execute what the examiners want will vary a little bit according to what type of data you get. Learn the structure. Now, the structure is important because it satisfies 2 of the criteria out of 4 which are set by the British Council, the Cambridge University, the IDP, to actually the criteria to actually get good bands. And structure satisfies task achievement and coherence and cohesion. Also, having a structure will enable you to have a clear plan when you enter the exam hall, and you wouldn't need to stop at every sentence to think what to do next. Practice each type of data. Of course, once you are done with the first 3 steps, you should practice each type of data, because practice is important to know if you are able to implement the things that you have learned or not. So practice does make perfect. What sort of practice you are required to do, that we will be discussing more towards the end of this video. Get feedback. Now, feedback is important because otherwise you don't really know where you are going wrong. You should actually put your work in front of somebody who knows what they are doing, who know the IELTS format, and would be able to point out your exact mistakes so that you can work on these mistakes and then not repeat them in the next submission. And this will help you improve gradually, and at the end you will minimize the number of mistakes that you are making. Divide your time during exam. So this is also something we will discuss at the end in detail. Dividing your time during exam is actually a very efficient way of taking the IELTS test. Written exams are the writing module is more stressful for students because you are required to think, you are required to prioritize, you are required to follow a structure, and then at the same time you are required to be grammatically accurate. So dividing your time during the exam will help you perform your best in all of these different sections. What do examiners want? So these are the 4 criteria on which the examiners will judge you: task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy. So task achievement basically means how well have you answered the question. So if the question requires you to make a summary or a report with at least 150 words, and the details of task achievements are that you satisfy all the parts of the task. Specifically for academic task 1, it is important that you have an overview. It is important that you have paraphrased the question in the beginning. It is also important that you carry forward whatever you have written in the overview in the description paragraph. Coherence and cohesion. So how is the structure and the flow of your task? Is your task easily understandable? So that's coherence. And cohesion means that have you used the proper linkers, have you used the proper cohesive devices that will make your task smooth, and have you overused them, or have you underused them, or have you used them just in the right proportion? So these are the two things. Now, number 3, lexical resource is another way to say vocabulary. Vocabulary mainly involves two things. The two things are using unusual words, but then using them at their correct place as well. So you are not just required to have a good knowledge of words and their synonyms, but at the same time you are required to have a good knowledge of collocation. You should use words and their synonyms in the proper context and not just throw around heavy words anywhere in the task. It will cost you dearly. Grammatical range and accuracy. So there are two things in grammar. One is range and one is accuracy. Grammatical accuracy means how accurate is your grammar. That means is your sentence formation proper? Are your tenses proper? Is the subject-verb agreement fine? The use of verbs, the use of first, second, and third person, the use of adjectives or adverbs or any such thing that is there in the basic language. Are those things correct or not? That's grammatical accuracy. Grammatical range is something that most students are worried about, but on the contrary, most students actually get this part correct in the beginning itself. It means the different types of sentences that are there in English grammar, and are you able to make them or not? The simple and the complex sentences. So grammatical range means the different types of sentences and if you are able to make them or not, whereas grammatical accuracy means having the least amount of grammatical mistakes. So understanding the different types of data. There are 7 different types of data that are asked in the IELTS exam academic module: line graph, bar graph, table, pie chart, process, map, and mixed data. So mixed data means that any of the combinations can come. So mixed data is a little bit complicated for students in the beginning, but once you get enough practice, it also becomes just as easy as any single type of data. So these are some images here that will help you get some idea about what happens in the academic task 1. This is a line graph, this is a bar graph, this is a pie chart, and this is a map. So you might be required to assess one of these and choose data from the task and write a summary of 150 words, and how to do that we will see in the next stage. Now this is another example. This is a question actually taken from the Cambridge IELTS textbook, before and after of a single map. So this is an island, and what you need to do is how you need to see how the island was before the redevelopment took place and after the redevelopment took place. What are the changes that took place here? There is a reception which was not present before. There's a restaurant, then there are accommodation facilities, there is swimming facility at the beach, then there is a pier with 2 boats, and then there is a footpath and a vehicle track. So all of these are changes that took place in the island after the redevelopment, and none of these things were present before. So you are required to actually understand the question and see what changes took place, and you are also required to prioritize which change to include in your answer sheet and which to exclude. So this is just a sample question so that you have an idea of what's there in academic task 1. This is the structure that you should follow. First paragraph is called the introduction. You are supposed to paraphrase the question. Now, paraphrasing means that saying the same thing in different words without changing the meaning. You will be required to use synonyms, you will be required to change the grammar, but be very careful and don't change the meaning of the question. So the first thing that you are required to do in both task 1 and task 2 is to paraphrase the question. Then add any relevant information if possible. So if you see any relevant information in the question or in the data that is general and that could be included in the introduction, like the number of countries that are being compared, what are the countries that are being compared, if there are 5 or less than 5 number of countries or states or cities or anything that are being compared, you could write their names as well. You could write the time period that the data talks about. You could also write about the unit of measurement that they have used. And so this is the relevant information that you could include in your introduction. Apart from this, nothing else is to be included. The second paragraph is the overview, whereas overview could be mixed up with the introduction and could be made after the introduction or could be included after the description. It could be the last paragraph of your task, but the examiners prefer that you write the overview in a separate paragraph after the introduction. So the overview is very essential. If you actually go to take IELTS.britishcouncil.org and read the band descriptors given by the authorities, without an overview you will not be able to get a 7 in task achievement. So what does the overview include? It includes the main data points, like the highest value. What is the highest point of data in the question that they have given you? What are the biggest differences and what are the general trends? So just the essential information should be included in the overview, like what is the main thing happening in the question, what are the major changes, what is the most important thing that you are able to see in the question. Only those things should be included in the overview. Now comes the description paragraph, which is essential because here you are required to show comparisons, you are required to give numerical data, you are supposed to prioritize data. Now many students make this mistake that they simply look at the question and they write every single thing that they see there. A is 5, B is 6, C is 7. So you are not required to do that. That will actually degrade your bands and that will tell the examiner that you do not really know how to prioritize the things. You need to know what to include and what not to include. Now there is a specific way and a list of things that I could give you, which would be for another video, but since we are getting introduced here, you should know that you should prioritize the data in the description. You could write about exceptions. Now in the overview we talked about general trends, like what is happening, are the countries in general showing an increase in whatever the data is talking about, and then there is one country that might not be showing an increase, the country might be showing a decrease. So that's an exception to the general trend. So you could include the exceptions in the description, but do not include everything. Practice. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we will talk about practice. So proper practice makes perfect, not blind practice. So in our experience, we have seen a lot of students who actually take the coaching or the classes for IELTS exam and they submit one task for evaluation every single day, or they submit more than one task every single day, and they tire out their teachers, and even after months of preparation there is no improvement in their scores. So that's blind practice. Blind practice means that you are not actually paying attention to the feedback that your teacher is giving you. Proper practice makes perfect. It means that whatever mistakes you do in one task, you are not supposed to repeat those mistakes in the second task. That is how you prepare for any exam in the world. If you do not pay attention to your mistakes, if you don't work on your mistakes, you are never going to improve. So do practice properly, not blindly. Read sample answers from trusted sources. Now, it is important to have trusted sources. It is important that you use websites and study material from sources that actually know what they are doing. You follow teachers who know what they are doing, not just any random IELTS guru you find on the internet. I'm sorry, even our own institute is on the internet, but then we leave it to you to decide which teacher you want to follow. But then reading sample answers only itself is not enough. Reading sample answers might give you a good idea of what to do, but then you also need to implement everything that you learn from a sample answer. Cover all the different types of data. We talked about the 7 different types of questions that you could get. So you should cover all of them in your practice, because if you don't practice each type of data, and unfortunately if you get the same question in your actual exam, you will freak out, you might go blank, and you might be very nervous to actually perform well. So try and cover all the different types of data in your practice itself. Learn how to prioritize data, not include everything. You should know which data point is important, which should be included in the overview, which should be included in the description, and not actually making the data, the task seem like an endless list of just numbers. So that is a disaster. Please don't do that. Get feedback from a proper IELTS teacher. Now, it is difficult to decide who is a proper IELTS teacher, since there is no such authority in the world that has made a certain set of rules, like only so and so person should be allowed to teach IELTS. That's not the case in reality, and there are a lot of people out there who have never actually even appeared for the IELTS exam themselves and are IELTS gurus. So another category of people is who have again not taken any training for the IELTS. They have not appeared for the IELTS exam, they have no experience in studying for the IELTS exams, and they have become teachers on the internet and YouTube gurus, and they greatly misguide the candidates, and taking guidance from the wrong person is actually the worst thing that you could do to your own preparation. It's best to go to teachers who have appeared for the IELTS exam a couple of times. It's best to go to institutes who actually follow the examiners, who interact with ex-examiners, and who learn from ex-examiners and follow what they say. Another thing is you could do is you could take training from someone who has reappeared for the exam several times and has consistently scored well and keeps on improving and updating themselves. So these are a couple of tips on how to choose your IELTS teacher. Work on your mistakes, of course. The feedback that we talked about, work on your mistakes. So without working on your mistakes, you are not going to improve. Organize your time during the exam. Yes, you should know how to organize the time. The first thing that you should do is plan. Now, I know many students are scared of this and they say that planning wastes our time, but that is not the case. That is what I have done in my exams every single time, and I can say that planning actually saved my time, and this is what I teach the students here at my IELTS stream, that you should always plan your answer before you start writing, because without a plan you might stop at every single sentence and wonder what to do next. So planning actually saves time. What you're supposed to do: understand the data, look at the main trends, plan your introduction, overview, and description. 3 to 5 minutes you should contribute to all of these steps, and only after you have done all of these things should you go to the next step, that is writing. Write your answer according to the plan. So you should give about 10 minutes, or like on an average it might take more than 10 minutes, but this is just the core idea of the division of time that you need to do in order to score your best. Planning is important to save time. Writing the answer 10 minutes, go according to whatever was in your mind while you were planning your introduction, your overview and description, and just write it down. Proofread. Now, proofreading is essential because even the very good candidates for IELTS make mistakes when they are writing an answer under examination conditions. Even the best teachers could make mistakes. Without proofreading, you would never know if there were mistakes that you could correct but you still submitted your task, and you are likely now to get a lower score than what you deserve. So check your mistakes and edit your task. Before you actually finish and submit your paper, you should give about 3 to 5 minutes to read your task, to analyze if you have performed your best according to the band descriptors. Have you done good in task achievement? Have you done good in coherence and cohesion, vocabulary, grammar, everything. So that's all for today. I hope that this video has helped you. We at My IELTS Dream love to make videos and to post them on YouTube and on Facebook to help the candidates score their best in their IELTS exam. And we have a lot of good reviews and a lot of students who scored 7 and above in the writing module. We would love to help you out with your preparation. If there is anything in particular you want us to make a video on, you can comment down below. Please subscribe to our channel, follow our Facebook page for more free material, or send us an email on myieltsdream123@gmail.com if there is anything that confuses you about the IELTS exam. Thank you and have a nice day.